I am live. Oh my God. I had to clear my throat before hitting that button, but I just kept clearing it. So let's see. It's around 9 o'clock on my time, 3 p.m. I think, New York Eastern time. So welcome back to GRRRL Traveler, where I share solo travel tips, inspiration, resources to help make your future solo travels travel lust-worthy. Thank you for joining me again. This is my second YouTube live stream. And I think this time I'm going to be sharing travel updates in general, some trip challenges for this past trip that I was on in Tokyo, and some film fails, as well as open the floor to some questions, some Q&A that you guys have for me. First of all, just a reminder, if you're here, please tick the notifications button or the little bell icon that lets YouTube know that you want to receive my videos in your inbox. They're pretty good about that, actually. I subscribe to myself, and so every time I post something, it's like, boom, almost immediate that I get notifications. So please remember to do that. Also, if you enjoy my videos, you support me, even slap a little love on it. That just kind of like propels me or encourages me more. And it lets me kind of have an idea of how you feel about the video. But also, I really appreciate the comments that you guys leave. You guys have been awesome about leaving comments for me. And I thank you for it, because even when you let me know what really resonates with you, it helps me to get a gauge and helps me to refine my process. So, you know, like a lot of times with YouTube, I'm kind of like in the dark to some degree. I know what feels right to me. I don't know if it feels right to you. So, you know, like usually I know when something kind of sucks, but when it's good, that's harder to figure out. When it's rocking and it's working for all of us, that's kind of hard for me to know when it's happening. So that is that. For those of you who are new to my channel, you're just, who is this real weird girl talking? Then welcome, please subscribe. And if you guys really, really, really love my work on this channel, then hot diggity damn, please share it with the world so you can grow the inspiration for solo travel. Let people know that solo travel is okay to do. It's okay to make mistakes. Solo travel can happen at any age. It's not about getting it right. It's about just making the leap in general. But first, just to start everything off, I do want to ask you guys where you are from. I'm going to look over to the chat window. I've been seeing chat happening. I've been trying not to look at it because sometimes it starts messing my brain. But fucking free. Yes, we're here. 12 noon time. Ooh, Randy, where are you from? What's my real name? Christine. Christine is my real name. Hello, namaste. Namaste from Hawaii, or aloha from Hawaii. My name, Christine. It's just like GRRRL Traveler Christine Kaaloa. Hello from Glasgow. Wow. Thank you for tuning in. I apologize in advance for those of you who couldn't make it or are struggling to stay awake because it's like, you know, on the opposite end of the world for you, and the time zone is kind of weird and wonky. David, you're such a great journalist. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I really try. I work it, man. Let's see. Getting laid while solo travel. Well, I don't know about that one. We'll see. Let's see. Tashi Dalek. Oh, right. Hi, Joseph. Glad you could be here. Hello, Paul. Thanks for joining. Satyendra, thank you. Hey, Mara, glad you could make it. I think, well, we're in the same time zones. Uh, Yay, Sarawak. Thank you, Adam. Hey, Mara, glad you could make it. I think, well, we're in the same time zones. I have, actually, I have to hit up my agent on email and more 5-0 guest. I have, actually, I have to hit up my agent on email and kind of remind him that my nurse can potentially make a recurring appearance again. And this year we also have Magnum PI. So gotta get get into the auditioning gear. What's up, love song? Do I really I didn't know I like noodles that much. And that's a big thing coming from, you know, an Asian person. Okay. So also, to some of these travel questions, please reach out and kind of like tap that person who has the question, and that, and there's so many different experiences and people that we can learn from. So, you know, I travel a lot, but the expertise comes from all of us, really. Okay, so let's see. I think first I'll start with the YouTube schedule because, you know, I just came back from Tokyo. Totally excited. I have a lot to share about that, in fact, good and bad. But YouTube schedule, because Tokyo came in and I've got a huge load of videos to work on, along with Nepal. I think usually I like to chronological versus feel scattered. So I think I'm gonna have to start mixing them a little bit more. So it might be like some Nepal, some Tokyo. I do have a trip coming up in fall, potentially, hopefully. It's actually a press trip that I've been invited onto, and it's this destination that I've kind of, I didn't know when I was first invited. I was just like, what, is that Africa? Where is it? I won't share it yet because it might fall through too. But whenever I get invited to destinations which are like beyond my realm of knowledge, or even, you know, like I don't see it in people's Instagram feeds or on social media or on the internet, then it kind of piques my curiosity, because then I'm like, wow, I feel like a pioneer. Not really, but you know, it's being one of the first to kind of like be able to release new ideas to you folks. That's what is exciting to me, actually, because these days so many destinations are saturated with tourism that when you go to a place, it's swamp. And it's a sad change that I see happening globally to a lot of destinations, and it's also negatively impacted some, unfortunately, you know, kind of like like reef, barrier reef. Yeah, it's impacted. It has its negative aspects. So, sorry, that was, that was kind of like a stutter. I can't finish my sentence thing. Let me go through. Okay. So yeah, I'll be mixing, and what else I was gonna say? Yeah, I'm not sure how it's gonna play out, but I'm gonna try it, and hopefully it'll work. Because I want to say a shitload, but then at the same time I caught myself because I'm like, I'm not supposed to swear, but I'm gonna say I have a shitload of videos to put out now, and so there's a stress to have to, you know, like upload them as soon as possible. But I want to do every event well. So that's kind of the challenge. And I'm trying, I've been saying this from last year. I've been trying to like upload more videos per week, like at least 2. It's been a challenge. So I also put out on Instagram stories, like a kind of poll on where you feel like you get the most value, my blog or my YouTube channel, what inspires you the most, or you feel like you get a lot of information from. And a lot of people said my YouTube channel. My blog is my baby from way back, but because my workload is really heavy or full, there are places where I need to find time. Obviously, there's not enough hours in the day. And I don't know if any of you follow content creators, like other YouTubers or Instagrammers or whatnot, to you folks and let you guys know it's work what we do. And a lot of people don't realize it's a lot of work. It's worse than a 9-to-5 job to some degree, because as public personalities or putting our content out in the public, we have to be fluid, continuous, and it just happens like daily, or it's supposed to happen daily. Sometimes I fall off the radar, but it's all part of the process. And the moment we take a break, there's this guilt that's involved, because you also know that while you need the rest and you need your health, the algorithms, those shitty algorithms, are gonna help. They're gonna make, the challenge of putting your work out again challenging, or promoting your work more challenging. So it's all of that. We also know that there's so many content creators out there that the moment we fall off the radar, we lose some of our audience, and it's hard to gain back. So it's like all these different challenges and struggles. I'll tell you, like last month before I took my trip to Tokyo, I got a panic attack and I bought this, which from the health store is like rhodiola. Supposedly it's supposed to help with stress and minimize stress. And that's just kind of like, I guess, part of our industry. I know I was reading, I was on Instagram the other day, and I was reading Alyssa of My Life's a Movie, and she was putting out something like she's, been stressed, she had a panic attack, got into an accident, all these little things, well, all these big things, and she needed to take a break. And I saw Nomadic Matt had responded to her, and he's just like, don't worry, the internet will still be there, take a break, heal yourself, or, be well. Which is something a lot of us will also roll our eyes towards, because we also know when we take a break, that's when things, like our channel, everything slows down, and it's hard to get the momentum up. But she was just like, I did take a break. I took 3 days off. And I was just like, yeah, that's kind of how it is. Let me see. Santa Fe drove 8 hours in a parking lot. How did you do that, Doug? Is it even possible to travel with all those vlogging gears and enjoy the trip? That's gonna come. Please come cycle back and ask me that question in a few minutes. So let me jump onto my trip, my Tokyo trip. It was hot, like brutally hot. Like people had warned me, like just before I was about to book my trip, and I knew I had a short window. I needed to execute or film like part of a video for a campaign. And I knew that I wanted to collect more videos to share with you on my channel. So the stress was starting to build, because I was like, oh my gosh, I need to book this trip in a short window of time. I don't know how much I can afford, but maybe like make it a little over a week. Now what am I gonna do? I'm gonna leave in a couple of weeks, or maybe a week. I don't know how much time I gave myself, but anyways, I'm gonna leave in a week. I need to contact all these people, see who wants to like come onto my channel, or who would be smart or insightful to bring onto my channel to help and push my videos or infuse them with more local expertise for you guys, so you guys can get a bigger, fuller picture than just me kind of like discovering the world. But anyways, a friend was just like, you're coming at the most brutally hot time of the year. And I was just like, how hot are we talking about? Because in my mind, I had lived in New York for around 8.5, 9 years. New York was like the top. That was like I would never want to go to New York in the summer. okay, let me retract that because some of you might have to travel in the summer. But New York can just be sweltering hot, like humid, like dripping. Like one block, I'm raining sweat. So that was the guideline for me to survive New York, then every place else feels fine. So I was like, I could probably do Tokyo. When I arrived in Tokyo, I was like, whoa, I think this is hotter than New York. But it just wasn't as humid, I think. So I wasn't raining sweat. I was still a little more composed, but you will see in some of my videos, I'm glistening and glowing in uncomfortable ways that I don't want to be on camera. But yeah, that was one thing. The heat was unimaginable. It played absolute tricks on my gear. Now I do carry a lot of gear. I really do. I would probably, you know, like solo travelers, you guys would carry a day pack, and, you know, for most people, it'll be a pleasant journey. But when you're a content creator and you're like me, a solo one, I kind of like, I'm really into storytelling. So I kind of take a fair amount of equipment with me. I also like to manage my data on the road. So that's why I also take a laptop, which like extra weight. So I have like at least maybe, I have my vlogging camera, my DSLR, my 360 camera, my GoPro in the case. I hardly use my GoPro, but in the case, and my iPhone. So those are the cameras. Then come the batteries, then come the cable cords and the hard drives and, you know, all that stuff. So I do pack a lot. My DSLR was just going down in the field. Like it was just, well, no, let me take a few steps back. My vlogging camera was going down the road. When I first got there, like the second day, I had a shoot with Dustin of Solo Travel Vlog, and immediately when I met up with him, I was just like, yes, let's do this. I'm ready to film. And then I flipped up my camera, and my camera was just kind of like, no, I don't feel like working today. And times like that, you're just like, no. He came out, we're going to do this food tour. No, this can't happen. So he was just like, well, you know what? It's probably overheated because it's really hot right now. And the G7X does have a way of overheating at times. And so I had to, every like couple of minutes, I had to pop out that battery, blow into it, like to try and cool it down, pop it back in, and it would work. So if you can imagine like a shoot of where we're going through, you know, not all this stuff and things not working, that's the nightmare that can happen. And equipment in the field when you're traveling, it does get affected by the weather. So if it's a hot environment, then your batteries might expire a little faster, or your camera might overheat. When I was in Nepal, that's when my batteries, I was chomping through batteries like crazy. They weren't lasting nearly as long as they do. The cold weather is another one that bites through the batteries really quickly. So those are things to be aware of. Yeah, those are things to be aware of. On the second to the last day, I was there, my DSLR died. For me, these are traumatic things. They really are, because I know I was considering upgrading my DSLR. I just wasn't considering upgrading it that quickly. I wasn't ready budget-wise. And so a part of me is just like, okay, that DSLR is just sitting on that shelf right now. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll use an old camera. I don't know. But that DSLR is very important, obviously, to my work. It allows me to shift into different gears, create different, you know, I've got the vlogging thing going, but I also have like a nice panoramic every once in a while and a nice zoom or whatnot. Juggling these cameras kind of enhance the storytelling for me. And I hope for you guys too, but at the same time, it'll probably be very seamless to you and you won't really think about it. For me, I think about it. So that's why every piece of gear in my pack has a specific purpose. So yeah, when I was carrying all that stuff, you know, I was trying to downsize from a backpack into like a carrying bag that I bought in Tokyo, and that was still heavy. Still heavy. It was hot. I was sweating. Not looking too fresh on film, and then came the walking. Like insane. I stayed at probably around 5 different hotels within the process of 8 days. Do you know how crazy that is? I would never recommend that to anyone, ever. But for the sake of great videos, or a great video, I did it. And it was just like moving house every 1 to 2 days. You know, so a lot of times, wherever I booked, I knew I had to book it like within the radius of a subway, you know, just to make my filming easier and my time more manageable, because I had to be in different places. You know, if I was meeting up with content creators, then I want to make sure that, you know, I got things settled before I met them. Or, you know, yeah, I just needed close access, because when you're searching for your hotel, if it's far from the train station, then you are just like, where the beep is this place? You know, and then you get annoyed. It's hot. You know, I'm carrying a lot. My frustration builds. So I always need to book my places nearby. Let me check in. Radar, Amir, you know, and it's so close. There's sometimes we get cheap tickets to Alaska, and I'm sorry if this is shaking. Sometimes I forget that I'm on like this little flexible table. Thank you, Ranjita. I appreciate that. Love Nepal, and I hope to go back soon. Seoul, yes. Me too. Englishman in Malta, hello, thank you for joining. I loved all your footage of those cube-like hotel rooms. They were amazing. That video's coming. That's the one I killed myself for. So yeah, that was, the walking was one thing, because for some reason, I don't know, you know, like, footwear is important to me, obviously. I always wear the same kind of like running shoes and flip-flops. But for some reason, my feet were just going really quickly in Tokyo. Like I walk everywhere. I'm used to walking everywhere. And Tokyo was really hard for me. Like I would, toward like the middle of the week, I was starting to hobble. But that's also because Tokyo has this weird thing. There's no public sitting, like no public seats anywhere. It's like going to Korea and not finding a trash can. Or, well, Japan has that problem too. No trash can. They do have trash cans, but you pretty much have to carry everything until you find it. But anyways, there's no public seating. Public seating is for the people who pay for public seating, like at a restaurant, or maybe you might find like you'll have free seats on public transport, obviously. But yeah, there's no sitting. So that didn't help, because I'm walking, getting tired, right? I've got all this gear, and I'm just like, where can I sit down? You know, and they usually like to scoot you along. So even if there's like a wall, you know, in a public area, like on a street where you think you could kind of rest there, you're not really supposed to do that in Japan. So it's kind of this weird, there are parts of, I mean, I'm half Japanese. So I think there's a part of me that thinks, you know, like, I get it. I understand this culture. But when I go to Japan, I really don't. It's kind of like a mystery world to me. And there's a lot of, I guess, unspoken rules and things. And you just have to observe people when you're there, or watch a lot of YouTube videos from expats who are going to tell you like what to do and what not to do. So that was, the walking was, yeah, I bought those. I think I showed, I'm not sure if I showed it to you guys, those salon paws. Oh yeah, I did it. I Instagram storied it. Like kind of like salon paws, which is kind of like these white bandages, which is supposed to help relieve muscle ache. It kind of worked. I feel like Japan is really big on like these health and beauty ailment things. They're really good about that. Like things for like if you have tired eyes, you know, you have like these little heat activated iPads, you know, like eye masks. For, you know, muscle aches, you have several different types of muscle tape, or, you know, yeah, muscle tape to put on you. They have a lot of curious oddities like that. And I tried to cover some of that. So we'll see. But also because I was staying in my capsule hotels, it was a little more challenging because I had to be very quiet during them. And of course, work with whatever lighting I was given. So, pescatarian, yes. Yes and no. Okay. I'm going to lay it out here because it's getting, people misinterpret, and it's hard. I've never done an actual like vegetarian video or like, you know, vegetarian pescatarian video. For the longest time, I was vegetarian. When I moved to South Korea, it becomes more challenging. When you go to Asia, it gets challenging being a vegetarian. I can't even imagine what it would be like being a vegan. And it's not saying, I'm not trying to dissuade anyone, but the reality of traveling in countries where it's meat-based or fish-based, and you don't know what the ingredients are, because most of us don't, right? You're a tourist. Unless you like research all your foods in advance, you're not going to know. And sometimes you can say vegetarian to people, but they don't understand that. Like when I lived in Korea, I would be like vegetarian, well, you know, in the Korean language. And they would be like, okay, but it would come with, you know, like little bits of meat or little bits of fish or whatnot. And it's because in their mind, it just means there's vegetables sometimes, you know, or maybe they mean, oh, no red meat, but white meat is okay. It's a hard translate. And I remember when I was in Tokyo too, you know, I was surprised they do have vegetarian restaurants. But a friend of mine who you'll see in one of my ramen videos, my ramen expert, Brian, he was just like, you know, it's really hard. You know, people who are even Muslim or, you know, countries where you can't have alcohol, they don't know what the ingredients are in some of these soup bases. In some of these soup bases, there's alcohol, you know. For me, that was ramen, because ramen I didn't know is very meat based. And he was trying to find something for me that was not meat based. And I said, you know what, just to make it easier, I'm going to open it up, just be pescatarian. And sometimes I have to do that. And it's something I feel a little uncomfortable, but more comfortable because I am like an island girl. So it's a little more native to me. I do feel, I try not to do too much seafood, but with Asia, it's just in there. Sometimes it's better off not knowing what the ingredients are. Like ignorance is bliss, because then you won't be able to eat anything. Back to when I was living in Korea, I would spend probably around 45 minutes walking, looking at menus, going from restaurant to restaurant, when my friends were just like, you know what, let's just go here. And I was like the difficult one. So it was just not fun living in Korea. And I think for a long time, I lived off of yogurt cups, tofu, and kimchi. And then within the process of kimchiing myself so many times, I realized that kimchi has oysters. You know, there's fish involved in that. So yeah, I'm not going to kill myself. It's not a religious purpose. It's just more like a belief. It's health, an ethical belief about animals, you know, and at the same time, I need to survive. And I've tried going of eating junk foods versus not, you know, versus eating something fish-based, and that's not fun. And it's not fun for my videos too, when I can't give you guys the real thing. So I think there's a choice that I'm having to make of how much food I want to cover for you folks, how to cover it if it is meat-based, because I want to be fair also to the people who, I get a lot of nationals watching my videos, you know, so when I put out something like the best foods of whatever, you know, like Kathmandu or whatnot, I have locals coming back and like, sometimes they're like, no, that's not it. You know, like people are critical. They're proud of their country and they want to be, you know, represented well. And I want to be able to represent people well. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe I can have someone eat food for me. I don't know. But that's something in the back of my head that I'm trying to worry about. Let's see. Yeah, Englishman in Malta, I had a vegetarian meal with chicken stock. Yeah, that's how it is. That's the reality of travel to some degree. You're going to have to decide what's really important to you and how far out of the way you want to go in order to, you know, maintain that kind of diet. I feel like for Westerners, being vegetarian is a privilege, you know, because we have that luxury of having those options. But in other places, sometimes there's no option or very few. Thank you, Primo. Do you know in Hawaii there's like a beer named after you? Okay, so let's see. Another interesting thing was Tokyo kind of felt a little bit like Kathmandu. And I know you guys are gonna be like, what? You know how like, or it even felt a little more like India. No, not like India, more like Kathmandu. Because Kathmandu, you know how I show like the roads? They're a little like, not chaotic, not as chaotic as India, but there's still kind of like a lot of traffic, right? It's kind of like when you have to cross the street, it's just like looking both ways and like jutting out where you think you can, you know, in some areas. And being a pedestrian in Tokyo was kind of the same thing. It was just kind of like, okay, where can I cut in here? Where can I jump into this stream and kind of like start walking? Because especially during rush hour, there's like one line that this whole stream, like a whole guppy stream of fish, you know, traveling in one direction and another stream of, you know, people traveling in another direction, and you're trying to jump in because there's this constant flow. That was one of the challenges in Tokyo. Okay. But I'm also going to open it out, I think, now. Questions you all might have travel-wise. If there are any, please let me know. Start chatting. Dreamwalker, how do you communicate when you're in a remote location where the person you're talking to doesn't speak English or speak it very well? It's a lot of like, you know, when I speak, sometimes I speak slowly and I try to refer to visual things. So if I have a map and I'm lost, then I point at the map and I go, and maybe that's something I learned naturally or learned from living in Korea, where I had to get around, and there are ways. You find ways as an expat. Expats have the greatest information for travelers, I feel like, even sometimes trumping locals, because they have to navigate that country that they're living in, and they have to find ways to do it as a foreigner. So yeah, like I remember in Korea, I was trying to sign up for a mobile plan because my co-teacher was not really helping me. So I went to the mobile office, you know, very naively, and I tried to communicate. And how do you communicate like mobile plans and prices and all that stuff? And so a lot of it was drawing on paper, and that's how we communicated. So you find a way. But the hard thing about for me as a YouTuber, I think when I'm interviewing locals, if I'm trying to interview a local, it's harder because sometimes if the English isn't good or there's some kind of strain in communication, then whatever I'm interpreting from them, I become uncertain of. So I'm not sure if they're telling me, you know, if someone's explaining their culture, I'm not sure how reliable of a source they are. to say with authority that this is the answer. So I think in that sense, like sometimes if I have guides, or I take like a day tour with a guide and maybe the guide doesn't speak strong English, that becomes a challenge for me because then I have to interpret it and then figure out how I'm gonna communicate it to you all on film, and if it's going to be the right answer or the wrong answer. So sometimes when you hear me mispronouncing something or whatnot, it's because the guide is just like, blah, and I'm like trying to pick that up with my ear, and I'm asking them, how again do you pronounce it? And they're like, da. And so I just kind of try to mimic it. They're all different ways. But communicating is kind of like a challenge. It's a fun one too, because you can always be stupid and kind of funny and make people laugh. And that's what I like. Sorry, I was like really spending a lot of time on that, but communication is a fun tool to help bond with locals as well. But sometimes the information you get is going to be a little more strained. Let's see. Vegan in Japan is so difficult. I can't even imagine. Although I saw like vegan restaurants, and I think like the Tokyo Ramen Street, there's like one ramen place that does something vegan, I think. I researched that one. I didn't get to make it to that area though. But yeah, I can't imagine. Everything's either meat-based or fish-based or seafood-based, right? Sven, hi, how are you? I'm great. It is 9:30 a.m. in Hawaii or Oahu, and yeah, I'm hanging out with you guys, so this is wonderful. How do I manage a budget for flights when last minute flight kills your wallet? How do I manage a budget for flights? That was the biggest thing with Tokyo because I was doing it at the last minute. But there are times that I feel like it opens up. I don't know how to explain that. I do research a lot of my travel at the last minute because that's usually when I'm booking my trips or deciding that I'm going to go somewhere. So because it's so last minute, I really don't have a choice. But I try to book the cheapest flight and nail it. I know that if I find a cheap flight, that there's only going to be a special time, like a timed window in which that price may change. And so I try to make my decision really quickly. But I do check Google Flights. I check Kayak. I kind of like price check a lot of places. I feel like Google Flights pretty much pulls everything together. And I use the private browsing window. I'm not sure if that works these days though. Sometimes I feel like they're still tracking you. But basically, for those of you who don't know, when you're researching your flights, yes, your browser is tracking you. And you might come back to the price later and it's bumped up. Sometimes it's because it's tracking you. And it's like, wow, this person spent a lot of time researching this flight or this flight route. This destination at this particular time. So I kind of juggle up, and I guess I try to stupidly mask myself in the best way possible. Sometimes I'll use different computers even just to see, to keep an eye on the cost. So with Tokyo, I came in a little under 600, so it cost me around $597. Sorry, the jiggle. It cost me around that much. And that's pretty decent, I feel like, for Tokyo from Honolulu. Honolulu, we get hit hard. We get the highest prices. So if you are wondering when I'm going to take a flight or like do a trip to Europe, that's going to take some working. I'm going to have to work that blog, work this channel, try and find a sponsor for some of that stuff because, or find a resourceful way to get there, because it's not cheap. And yeah, there's a whole bag of tricks that I have in order to try and find my way towards places that I want to go. But Europe was actually on my list this year. I wasn't sure how I was going to make it happen. I'm not sure if I can make it happen this year, but We'll see. Sorry, let me try and do a little more rapid fire so I can get more of your questions in. Mara, Tokyo overnight, 12 to 18 hour layover suggestions. Tokyo overnight, Tokyo onsens, video, arcades, cube hotels. Definitely a cube hotel. There's one near the Tokyo Narita. If you come in there, which you probably will come into there because Haneda is going to be a little more expensive, especially from Hawaii. I think you might be able to find a good price. You could probably do a cube hotel off of a branch of that sci-fi one that I have. You could probably experience a night there. They have branches. Sorry, that was broken up in my head. Overnight 12-hour layover suggestions. Wow, that's like a video already. Because you know why? Getting from Narita Airport into downtown Tokyo roughly takes around 1.5, I feel like almost 2 hours. And then, of course, you want to give yourself, because you're doing a layover, you want to give yourself enough pad time. So that's like 4 hours back and forth, plus a window of maybe around 2 hours padding. So that's 8 hours. So you've got 10 hours or 8 hours left. Yeah, I'll have to cycle around to that one. You have roughly around 8 hours. So you know what? There is actually, they do have a free tour from the airport. I'm not sure, you have to check times. But they have free daily tours from the airport into Narita, and they have like a full experience of, you know, trying on kimonos and whatnot, but you're only going to be limited to that area. Tokyo's huge. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of options. Depends on what you really want to do. And you probably want to do it all. So it's a matter of narrowing that down. How do I manage a budget? Okay, I did that. New favorite travel apps. Oh my God. Well, the Japan travel, the Navitime, which I had to download for Tokyo, is my favorite, or was my favorite. I like my Fitbit app. Sorry, I like Fitbit because it keeps me in touch with myself, because I'm being like an influencer or a content creator. It's sometimes hard to break away from my computer. It really is. A lot of people think I'm living an adventurous life. I'm living an adventurous life with me and my video and my laptop when I come home, because I'm editing up a storm, I'm posting blah, 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 blah. So the Fitbit kind of helps me gauge my time, manage my sleep patterns, because sometimes I'll be like, wow, you know, I only had 2 hours of sleep today. And, you know, I look and I know that I have to get more sleep in. I'm not sure if I was rambling, but I did download a size converter for Japan after the fact. Because Japan sizes, a lot of us who are familiar with Uniqlo want to go shopping in a Uniqlo in Japan because it's supposedly cheaper. Sizes, that is the killer. Size conversion. You need to know your size conversion. Ever thought about editing a bunch of videos in short period of time so that you can free up a specific amount of relaxation? I'm trying to edit as quickly as I can. Sometimes it's a matter, I feel like I'm trying to be too perfect, or maybe I'm trying to do something too right. I don't know what it is. I have to figure out how to make my editing time a whole lot quicker. Like right now, the reason why I haven't uploaded within the past 2 weeks is, one, when I got back, I had so much footage I needed to organize so that I knew where everything was. It'll make my editing process easier. But the next week I started working on what was supposed to be this week's video, which is a compilation. When I do a compilation of an experience, that's like, say, like a full, like if I'm doing like a food tour or a city guide, or, you know, like me having many adventures in one day, that's a lot of different stories that I have to find a way to weave together and make work. But also be cognizant of the fact that people don't want to hang around for that long watching something that's not exciting. So it's a matter of, you know, having a recipe and a formula and trying to make that recipe and formula work for that specific video. And I want to say there is a formula, but right now I'm still figuring that out. So yeah, that's the conundrum. That's where I'm already trying to find that relaxation time. It's a matter of me just breaking, you know, like breaking down and forcing myself to have relaxation. Since you're in Nepal, did you ever think about trekking in the Mount Everest? Yes, I did. Didn't have enough time this past time. So I had to do something, a different trek, which is what I'm actually working on in my edit right now, it's like a 2-day trek, which I think is interesting because not everyone can do the Everest trek. Obviously, that's like the epic trek. That's the renowned one, but sometimes people don't have that option, like myself at this time. Maybe they don't have the budget because Everest is not cheap either. And so for me, I opted for like something around Kathmandu, which still fulfilled a lot of my wants and like my wish list, of great, you know, like epic scenery, cultural, you know, insight and farming, you know, people in like interacting with people, all that stuff. So yeah, I'll have to save Everest, though it is competing with, what was the other one that I wanted to go on? There's another one that I recently learned about that I said in a different video. Someone name it for me, please, because I forgot what it was. But it's competing with Everest. Destination you found overrated. Oh, that's hard. It's somewhere in the recesses of my mind right now. I'll have to cycle around to that one. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of tourist sites that I find are overrated, like say the Eiffel Tower. You know, it's beautiful from the outside. Everyone wants to go up it. When you go up it, you're like stuck in a queue, and you're just like, oh my god, you know. Now I'm in an elevator, and we're just like packed, and now I have to wait in another line, and then you're just like, oh, Paris. Okay, let's go down. It depends on what your bucket list is. How much meaning it has for you. If it's just kind of like to knock off a bucket list, then it probably won't feel as maybe worthwhile sometimes, or maybe it will, depending. I would like to sponsor you, Christine. Thank you, David. Please do. And at that point, I do want to thank my patrons. You guys have been awesome. The reason why the reason why you guys are seeing this video right now is because they help me continue what I do, and they support me. They have my back. They also were my practice live streams to some degree. I do a lot of rants. I can't help it. It's being like a solo content creator and having to wear like all of these hats that sometimes I break down and I'm just like, I hate my life. No. Well, they get my internal rants that I do, that I don't feel comfortable sharing yet on my channel, just because it's so exposed to the public. But I know they support me. So, what country and destination is best? Yeah, I need to do a rapid fire now. What country or destination do you recommend for someone who has mobility issues getting around? Mobility issues. That's hard. Dip out for a quick one. You like to have my own experiences, do my little explorations, and then come back and merge with the tour. Really quickly. Yeah, really, really quickly. But it is what you make of it, is what it is. So getting around, I would say utilize tours. Sometimes there's great bus hop on, hop off, but on a budget and you don't want to do like an all-inclusive, but the all-inclusive ones help. I'm sure there's a destination, well, the United States, because you have to get around by car. New York is pedestrian, but the public transportation is good. No, that's a lot of walking. Los Angeles, because you need to rent a car. I think it's a matter of finding your vehicle or transportation of choice. Because I'm not sure if I was able to answer that question very well. Have you ever visited Tokyo? Yes, I have. This is my second trip to Japan. Where can I make your donations? Free travel expenses. Thank you. Patreon. There should be a link on, well, either in my description box or on my, what is the about page. There'll be a link to my Patreon campaign, and it's a monthly campaign. But you can always stop whenever you want. You could do a one-time donation. It really depends on you. And you know, the way I am with my Patreon patrons, they're free to come and go as they please. And it's not awkward, and it shouldn't be awkward when people leave, because I realize that people have a budget. They need to make their travels happen. And so that's kind of what I'm very supportive of as well. I do have like a one-time donation that you could do on PayPal, which is also on my blog. So there's different avenues, but mostly Patreon, PayPal. I don't know if this YouTube thing works. Which is your next destination? That one is what I explained earlier. My fingers are crossed on that one. I'm not sure if I can squeeze in another destination. We'll see. I just need to keep up with the videos that I have right now. How often do I use my GoPro? Not nearly as much as I thought I would. And that's because I kind of bought it for diving. And I stopped diving for a while. Gimbal, yes, that's on a wish list. I definitely want a gimbal because they're, but at the same time, I carry a shit ton of gear. Sorry for the vulgar language. Shit is probably still like ABCs, but it's a lot of gear. So like those gimbals can be kind of heavy. That's just like an extra, what is it, like 1 pound or whatnot onto my bag. So that's something. Although I'm looking at some of my footage, I'm just like, I need a gimbal. We love you from Nepal. You're always welcome. Thank you. I love Nepal. I really do. You guys are awesome. Your advice has helped me a lot with my trip to Japan and South Korea. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad. How do you do $30 a day with accommodation? Manga cafes, hostels. Yeah, I was very creative. I was trying to do a manga cafe stay. It can be, you know what? That's the budget, the most budget you can go. But Japan is really good about being clean. Sometimes you just have to find the right manga cafe, manga cafe is just kind of like a comic book cafe. It's like an internet cafe. So I can charge my devices there. There's usually either a nice recliner, a comfy recliner chair, or like a little kind of like cubicle area with a padded mat you can lie down on. People like businessmen or, you know, Japanese who don't make the last train home can sometimes hang out there. There's also a shower. They give you like, what do you call it? Not condiments. They give you toiletries and stuff, so you don't have to worry about that aspect. I think you have to pay for a towel, but everything else like razor and stuff, they give it to you. What's your dream trip city that you haven't been to yet? You know, there's a lot, but these days I'm just like Dubai, just because I've been seeing so many Instagram photos. You know, those Instagrammers, man, they're so bad the way they like make me lust after things. Do I ever get sick of traveling? Of course I do. And I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that or not, because I'm supposed to be like, travel. I get tired of it, like anything else, because it's work. It's my job too, you know. I do enjoy it though. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy it while I'm there, but I'm going hard. Like for this last trip for Tokyo, I went hard every day. I was like, from morning, the moment I got up, I started pounding the pavement, filming me nonstop almost. So that's what a lot of people don't see, is that the moment I wake up, it's like, boom, there goes the vlogging camera. And now I've got to find stories, or I've got to like get to different places and figure out how to get there so I can film them. So there's like it's almost like it's like having a TV show where you know you're on a budget. You can't waste your time. Like, I want to say dicking around. Sorry. You can't waste your time dicking around. You just have to, you know, like I can't be on my computer and just like, oh, let me just research whatnot. Everything is like, you're paying for every minute, right? Every second. That's how I feel sometimes. So those people who edit in their hotel room, I don't know how they can do that, because they're paying for that hotel room for the day, just so they can edit a video. But yeah, there are times I get tired like everyone else. I get exhausted. I come home. I'm just like, my idea of a vacation is just turning on the TV and do nothing. And that's just like, sorry, I just spit on the screen. That's just the life of a content creator, is because it's like nonstop. We have to keep putting out content. And while I love being creative, that is my passion more than travel. Is being creative is my passion. There are times that I get exhausted and I just want to take a break. So yeah, but I do miss traveling when I don't do it. Also, weirdest thing you've ever seen, experience, but miss recording. I have to dig too deep for that one. Sorry. Let's see. Yay, you booked your first solo trip, Ronald. Yay. Make that leap, because you know you get terrified at first, because you're just like, oh my god, I'm gonna be alone, it's gonna be so horrible, what am I gonna do, you know, what if I get lost, you know, what if someone robs me or whatnot. All of that is just like part of your imagination, and you know, like it can go on itself and generate more horrible stuff. But once you actually book the trip, you'll find it becomes like now it's just like, okay, game plan. We're going to make this happen. We don't know how yet. We're going to make this happen, and it's going to work. And then you start building the bridge, and then you realize it's kind of, once you get there, you're just like, wow, I'm alone. I'm rocking this. This is pretty good. You actually get to be more social because you're forced to talk to people. Okay. So I think it's 10 o'clock right now. That was a full hour. Darn it. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to have to shut up. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. Anything else, please leave the comments down below. I'll see what I can answer. Obviously, you know, I kind of like I try to get to as many comments as I can before my window shuts off, and then I have to start on the next video or start editing the next video. So thank you guys for coming in. I know for some of you folks, you've been up late or up early, and this is a hour-long video. That's okay, my longest. So I love you all back. Thank you. Okay, until then, travel safe, smart, and fun. Keep your eye out for more of my Nepal and Tokyo videos. They are coming. I'm trying to get them out as soon as possible. Keep following me on Instagram stories, because that's where I'm doing updates, as well as Facebook. But Instagram stories more immediate. So, you know, whenever I post, you'll know it. Well, if you're subscribed to the notifications on YouTube, then you'll know it immediately when I post. But other than that, I kind of also do kind of like a shout out on Instagram stories, and I'm trying to be a little more creative there. So hope you guys have been enjoying that ride, and I guess I will see you in the next video. Okay, till then, travel safe, smart, and fun. Definitely travel. Oh, I wish you guys just good things in this coming year. Make all those dreams happen, okay?